Hi, Alex Recaps here. Today I am going to explain a movie called Ashes in the Snow. In this film we will talk about one of the many families that survived all the cruelty of the Soviet government and its special services. Lithuania. 1941. Lina Vilkas is a 16-year-old girl who loves to draw and dreams of going to art school. Adolescence is a great time to enjoy summer holidays swimming in the lake. In first dates with boys, after painting another picture and attending preparation classes, Lina and her younger brother Jonas return home a little later. Their father Kostas Vilkas arrives, informing his daughter that he has bought new canvases and paints. Girl believes that her father is rushing things because she may not go to art school, but he believes at her. During lunch, Kostas notices that Jonas has someone else's soccer ball and asks where he got it from. It turned out that the family of his classmate had big problems. His father was arrested, and the boy said that soon Lithuania would become part of hell. This offends the head of the family, but he tries to direct the children's attention to something else. According to Kostas, it's not what happens, but how you look at it, that matters. The same things can seem terrible and beautiful at the same time. It is important to take the right side. Kostas has long decided who he is and what his calling is. While teaching at a university, Lina's father is involved in the Lithuanian resistance to the Soviet occupation of the Baltic states. Every night he goes to extra work forging documents and helping many people to leave the country, escaping the Stalinist regime. Elena asks her husband to stop and think about his family, but he cannot ignore the crumbling world outside his house. Kostas understands that he is destined to help people and do everything in his power. Next morning, Lina goes to class and sees how the Soviet military in the middle of the street grab a man and take him away in an unknown direction. This frightens unfortunate girl and she literally freezes in place, but soldiers demand that she go home as soon as possible, otherwise follow the passerby. Upon returning home, Lina finds out a letter from the art school with an answer whether she entered or not. Girl decides to wait for her father to share this joyful and maybe sad news with him. In the evening, Lina looks out the window and sees several trucks with employees of the People's Commissariat for Internal Affairs. They disperse and arrest people according to the list, considering them traitors with anti-Soviet political convictions. The Vilkas family is also on the list, and Elena understands this very well. Woman collects her things and asks her daughter to do the same, as they will arrest them any minute soon. Vilkas family and other so-called traitors are arrested and sent to the railway station. Along the way, Elena and the children learn that Kostas has been arrested, and they are unlikely to ever see him at the station. Military is trying to separate the family, as the boys have to travel in a separate carriage. Oliva asks to feel sorry for little Jonas because he is still just a child. Trying to persuade the soldier, she gives him silver earrings, but Nikolai Kresky intervenes in the conversation, allowing boy to stay with his sister and mother. Having nothing sacred, the priests baptize people who are driven into wagons like cattle and locked up so that they cannot escape in the same carriage. With the Vilkas family, there are both friends of Kostas and a woman with a small, constantly crying girl. Andrius, Lina's friend, is also driven here. As soon as all the carriages are completed, officers conduct a roll call. Commander Komarov pays special attention to Kretsky since he is Ukrainian. Others make fun of him and do not understand how the guy ended up in their ranks. In the morning, the train leaves to the Altai territory in Siberia, where a labor camp awaits the prisoners. Along the way, Lina remembers a trip to the wonderful city of Palanga, located on the shores of the Baltic Sea. She dreams of returning to normal life, but understands that this is hardly possible despite the arrest. The Lithuanians are not broken in spirit, so on the way to Siberia they sing patriotic songs and support each other's morale. Lina constantly looks out the small window and sees the names of the cities which they are passing through. Girl draws a map on one of the handkerchiefs in the hope that she can pass it on to her father and he will save his family. At night, the captives hear girl with the child crying unceasingly and realize that her baby has died. In the morning, officers check the carriages to remove those who did not survive the first weeks of the trip. Lina offers to bury the child, but girl does not want to let her daughter go and does not admit that she is dead. Meanwhile, Aggressive notices that Kretsky is holding a medallion. Upon learning that he has a wife and daughter, a colleague teases the Ukrainian and insults his family. At night, the prisoners understand that they need to get rid of the died child, and Elena takes on this mission, throwing the body into the pit of the carriage intended for natural needs. Meanwhile, Andrius gives little Jonas a piece of amber and tells the legend about his appearance. 6 weeks later, the prisoners arrive in Altai. A girl who has lost a child is experiencing severe stress and is unable to control herself. Soviet soldiers tried to stop her, after which Komarov talks to her. He allows her to show where the child is, but makes it look like an attempt to escape and executes the girl by shooting her in the back. The Vilkas family, like other captives, must wash and clean up. Lina is trying to distract herself from the ongoing horror and remember how good it was at sea, but the harsh reality does not allow this. Greshnov openly molests Lina, but Kretsky defends her, not allowing his colleague to touch the girl. Komarov meets the prisoners and explains to them the conditions of their stay in Siberia. All of them are considered traitors and death is supposed for this, but instead there will be life imprisonment. The system here is simple: if you don't work, don't eat, any attempt to escape is punishable by death, but even those who succeed are unlikely to survive in such conditions. Commander also offers the prisoners to sign a confession which will reduce the term of hard labor to 25 years. Lina is the first who refuse to sign the paper and urges others not to succumb to provocation because they love their country and have done nothing wrong. Komarov is angry and believes that honesty borders on stupidity. He is in no hurry, so he orders Kretsky and other officers to watch the prisoners, not allowing them to eat, sleep, and lie down. The ill treatment and the lack of the opportunity to rest have broken many, and they, dreaming of lying down, give up, signing a confession of betrayal of the Soviet regime. After that, soldiers settle the prisoners, but no one is happy with them because Lina and others are considered traitors and outcasts. Go like prisoners from morning till night, have to work on the land, grow crops including potatoes and beets in order to fulfill their quotas and receive a share of food on the very first working day. Lina learns that Andrius was caught stealing food and severely beaten, tied to a pole at the headquarters. When girl notices the military, she asks them to let her meet the guy and help him. Kretsky is forced to react harshly and drives Lina away as his colleagues look at him and continue to make fun of him because of his nationality. Lina is called to headquarters as she understands Russian. Kretsky invites women to accept the role of translator, but she does not want to become a servant for the devils. The man notes that he also did not want this, but he had no choice. Komarov offers a place at the post office, promising good conditions, warmth, and food. Lina is not ready to betray her love for the motherland and refuses. The commander, angry, he tells her that her husband was killed, but woman refuses to believe it and hopes that Kostas is alive. While working in the field, Lina notices that one of the women is stealing beets. Girl believes that she can be trusted and asks for a letter that should reach her father. Woman refuses to help and says that she will denounce if Lina even once approaches her, feeling that people have lost their humanity. Girl again remembers that wonderful time when her best friend and father were by her side. At night, Andrius visits Lina to give the stolen sheets of paper, pencils, and food to the whole family. In turn, girl shows him a letter from art school which she wants to open only with her father. Soon Lina realizes that she has romantic feelings for Andrius and not friendly ones, and draws their joint portrait. A few weeks later, officers gather people who worked in the field. They are dissatisfied with the fact that production has fallen and now there is a constant underweight in harvesting. Elena justifies this by saying that it has become colder and the earth has become more solid. Komarov searches a woman who trembles with fear and finds a beetroot in her pocket. She points her finger at Lina and says that the girl has an escape map. Commander forbids feeding prisoners and orders Kretsky to execute the thief who betrayed the country. And Stalin man is tormented and suffering, but he follows Komarov's order so as not to become the next on the list of corpses. Winter 1942. Lina hunts a rabbit, after which she and her mother butcher it. Komarov calls the girl to him as he found out about her talent as an artist and wants a portrait. Frightened, Lina does not dare to refuse the commander of the camp. Having started to draw, girl realizes that she cannot create a normal picture and draws a caricature depicting Komarov as a monster. In retaliation, commander orders all the girl's work and letters to be burned, depriving her of pencils and paper. During Christmas, little Jonas gives his sister a portrait of his father which survived the fire because it was blown away by the wind. A little later, Andrius also appears in the house, deciding to give Lina a book and food. At night, the guy leaves, but girl stops him and kisses him at dinner. Grechnev again provokes the Ukrainian into conflict after drinking too much. Kretsky rudely replies to a colleague and calls him a pig. An officer threatens to kill him, but the Ukrainian laughs it off, saying that he is only one eye from his mother. The next morning, Kretsky decides to prove to Grechnev and to himself that he is a man. An officer goes to Elena, with whom he fell in love, and tells that her husband was shot 2 hours after the train left to Siberia. Feeling sympathy for the woman, he tries to take her by force. Elena does not resist, but warns that she will never belong to him. Pangs of conscience stop the Ukrainian and he leaves. Grechnev once again provokes Kretsky and does it in vain. The Ukrainian could not tolerate the fact that the Russian compatriot looks down on him and beat Grechnev. Commander witnessed the fight and called Kretsky to his place to inform him that he was leaving for Trofimovsk Island, located in the Arctic. In the laptop sea there he will become the head of the new gulag, and as a gift Komarov sends Alina and her family along with him. Several months of travel became a real test, and not all prisoners were able to survive it. Soldiers do not bury anyone and simply throw the corpses overboard, not counting the Lithuanians, as people. Oliva also fell ill and her health is deteriorating. Prisoners are divided into two groups: those who build the camp before the start of winter and those who were engaged in fishing. One of the girls offers Lina to run away, but she refuses. A couple of days later, Kretsky finds a girl on the ship trying to escape. He becomes as ruthless as Komarov, ordering a subordinate to execute the fugitive. Winter 1952. Kretsky does not eat or sleep, drinking alcohol all the time. The doctor who arrived in the gulag examines the sick and tries to help them in some way. Among the dying is Elena, who asks Kretsky to remember the names of her children. Lina and Jonas. Girl defends her mother and dries out the head of the camp, but he takes with him the doctor who refused to give medicine to those in need, trying to find food in water. Lina looks around the island and finds a frozen man who had leftover food hidden. Elena realizes that her days are numbered and tells the children that their father has died. Lina realizes it's time to open the letter and learns that she has been accepted into art school after the death of her mother. Girl goes to Kretsky with a demand to give rations every day to give out warm clothes and medicines. Commander refuses Lina and learns that her mother is dead. The children, with help of other prisoners, bury Elena in one of the snowdrifts. At the same time, Kretsky, overcome with guilt, decides to honor the memory of the woman to whom he was in love. Ukrainian does the last good deed by announcing Lina and her younger brother an amnesty with a full pardon, after which he takes his own life. Film ends with Johann and Lina walking along the beach towards their ship. From 1930 to 1950, millions of innocent people were exiled to Siberia by Joseph Stalin and the Soviet regime. Families were broken and many innocent lives were lost. Those who survived remained under the rule of the communist regime for another half-century. After 50 years of struggle, many of the nations occupied by the Soviet Union declare their independence and helped bring down the Iron Curtain. For some, the struggle for freedom continues to this day.